Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another instalment of the Stacey West Preview Show. As ever, I am your host, Jake Tong, back for another preview against Forest Green Rovers in Sky Bet League One. Before we do continue, just a little bit we need to go through. So, we are nearly so close to 600 subscribers on the channel. If you wouldn't mind clicking that subscription button down below, it would mean a massive amount to myself and the rest of the team. Also, you'll see a little bell next to the subscribe button. If you could press that, that will mean that you don't miss any of the videos that go live, either myself or Gary when he does his dog walks, etc. So yeah, make sure you go and click that bell as well. If you haven't seen the West End Imp show from the fantastic point that we earned on the road at Portsmouth, make sure you go and check that out. But today we're previewing the Forest Green Rovers game. Obviously, this will back up the performance, the win that we had last night in the Carabao Cup, a comfortable 3-0 win over Doncaster Rovers. Goals coming from Charlie Kendall, Teddy Bishop and Anthony Scully. So earlier this week, I caught up with Forest Green Rovers supporter and reporter Laurie, and he told me all things Forest Green. Right. So we are joined by Laurie, a reporter and Forest Green supporter. Laurie, how are you getting on, my friend?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. After a good result for Lincoln on Saturday. Just talking then about Forest Green. Obviously, you're a big supporter of Forest Green. Talk to me about your summer window, because I've been quite impressed with some of the names you brought in. Oliver Casey was one from Blackpool, who was really high regarded at Leeds. Armani Little from Torquay. Just give us a bit of a flavour on Forest Green's transfer window.
Yeah, I mean, so Forest Green lost some key players over the summer, which was always going to happen. Ibu Adams, Nicky Cadden and Kane Wilson being the main three. Cadden's stayed in League One, or gone up to League One, I guess, from last season. And the other two have jumped straight to the Championship. So big players to replace. I mean, a lot of people have tipped Forest Green to go back down based on losing those three players. But recruitment-wise, they've done very, very well, which is no surprise. I think Forest Green are one of the best recruiters in the Football League based on the last sort of 4 years or so. And yeah, I think you're right. Obviously, you mentioned Armani Little, who Forest Green fans haven't seen a lot of yet. He came on as a substitute against Ipswich, missed the opening day against Bristol Rovers with injury, but impressed during pre-season and great numbers in the National League last season with Torquay. Corey O'Keefe's another one, right wing back from Rochdale, who looks really impressive. I was really impressed with him against Bristol Rovers. I mean, it seems, Kane Wilson was the best player in League Two last season, Forest Green's best player, and it looks like O'Keefe's sort of going to be able to replace him in terms of quality. So that's a really smart pickup as well. And then obviously Harry Boyes on the other side as well, currently out injured, but similarly to O'Keefe, young, good technical quality. David Davis in the middle as well, experienced, been at Birmingham, Wolves, Shrewsbury. And then I suppose the one that, will catch the eye of most Football League fans is Connor Wickham coming in last week. A massive name, one of the most high-profile signings Forest Green have made in a long, long time. It's only on a short-term deal, still yet to make his debut. He wasn't in the squad against Ipswich on Saturday, but that one is a little bit more of a risk, so going to be interesting to see how that all pans out.
Yeah, you've not even included Reece Brown in that, who had a really successful spell at the club when you were in League Two as well. Obviously, you talked about your loss of key players. You also lost your manager over the summer. He too still gone down to Watford in quite controversial circumstances. Just talk us through that a little bit and what happened with Rob Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, Rob Edwards did so well last season with Forest Green. A league title. Forest Green have gone so close in League Two under Mark Cooper. Knocked on the door, been in the playoffs a couple of times, but he was never the man to get them over the line. I think that was pretty clear, sort of a few years into Forest Green's time in League Two, and Rob Edwards did it in his first attempt. So yeah, Forest Green won the League Two title at Mansfield. I think that was on Saturday, May the 7th, May the 8th, something like that. He'd been linked with like Watford, QPR, Birmingham, Hibs was another one that he was sort of linked with all these jobs in sort of the week leading up to that, when obviously teams were starting to sort of get rid of their managers ahead of the summer. But he sort of made all the right noises that he would stick around. But obviously you can't turn down Watford. A great opportunity for him, but yeah, controversy in the way it happened. Dale Vince, according to him, had no idea it was happening. Nobody at Forest Green sort of knew it was happening. They sort of only found out via reports. I think the Athletic were sort of the first ones to break it that Rob had joined Watford, and it was all very, very eventful. A sour ending to what was a brilliant sort of 12 months of him in charge. He was such a likable character, and incredibly successful as well. But it's all sort of ended with a bit of a crash, really. But Forest Green have moved on now. But yeah, I do think whilst it sounds like he definitely could have gone about it in a better way. I think Rob will do very well at Watford, and I think they'll probably go up this season.
And Ian Birchnell then came in and took over. Was linked with the Lincoln City job before Mark Kennedy was put into post. Done well at Notts County. Didn't quite get them promoted, but are you sort of seeing signs that Ian Birchnell is sort of the next coming of Rob Edwards in the term that he's moving the club forward on and off the pitch as well?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think what Forest Green fans were saying for quite during Mark Cooper's sort of latter years at the club, were Forest Green sort of need a young progressive coach to match the club's ethos. The club go on about being so progressive and they're forward thinking. They didn't seem to have a manager that sort of matched that. So Rob Edwards did, and Birchnell sort of follows a similar path, doesn't he? I think he's only 39. Great sort of coaching CV. Got into it at such a young age. No playing career, but earned his stripes abroad in Norway and Sweden, and come back over here and did a good job in Notts County. I know they didn't get promoted, but such a difficult league to get out of, as we all know, the National League, especially nowadays. So and the style of football he played there, possession based, and sort of won a lot of plaudits for that. So I think, he was always Forest Green's first choice. Birchnell seems, definitely differences to Rob Edwards, but in terms of on the pitch, they're both three at the back, both possession based, although Birchnell a bit more so, I'd say. But yeah, it's sort of just continuity, following on that path that sort of Rob Edwards got Forest Green underway on.
And you had your first sort of big test of the season over on Saturday as you hosted Ipswich. Came up short ultimately, a 2-1 defeat. First of all, how have you sort of found the step up in quality? Because you go from playing teams like Harrogate and Barrow to teams like Ipswich, who can really throw the money around in the transfer window, like they have with the likes of Marcus Harness, who obviously scored on Saturday. You noticed a big step up in quality?
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge jump, isn't it? People talk about it being two divisions in one, a top 12, a bottom 12. It's sort of hard to disagree with that. I think everyone on their predictions would have had a set top 12 and a set bottom 12. I think that, obviously Forest Green played Bristol Rovers on the first game of the season, a team that came up with Forest Green. And, Bristol Rovers still nowhere near done in the transfer market. So, didn't notice any sort of differences there in terms of that. But Ipswich, I mean, you just look at the names, and you mentioned Harness. They've brought in a left wing back for $1 million from a Premier League club. They just have the ability to do that. It just shows the complete gulf in this league. And you look at the bench; they're bringing on Caden Jackson, Sonny Aluko. Like it seems unfair, but it's just the gulf in this league. I didn't go to the Ipswich game, but from what I hear, just they were just much better in the first half. Just so much quality. Forest Green came back in and played well in the second period. I think finished the game with a pretty good expected goals figure and could have got back into it. But Ipswich, just when you've got that quality, when you've got players like Sam Morsey in the middle of the pitch, up front when you've got Connor Chaplin and Freddie Ladapo, we're going to notice the step up when we play against those sorts of teams, and it'll be the same when Forest Green go to Sheffield Wednesday in a few weeks as well.
And just looking at the last time these two clubs would have faced each other would be in Lincoln's League 2 title winning season. Well, actually, it isn't, is it? It's in the FA Cup, and Lincoln put 6 goals past Forest Green. Do you remember anything from that day? I think we probably ran a little bit riot, Brennan Johnson, George Grant, etc. But can you remember much of that afternoon?
Yeah, I remember saying, I said a lot of times last season, I was mad that Forest Green played against Brennan Johnson last season, what he's gone on to achieve. And obviously he was at Lincoln. I remember George Grant scored definitely at least one wonder goal in that game. Forest Green never really took the FA Cup too seriously under Mark Cooper, I'd suggest. I remember Carl Winchester played as a centre-back that day. But yeah, Lincoln completely obviously ran riot and, had some good times then under Michael Appleton. So, yeah, I mean, it's always Sincil Bank traditionally for us a really tough place to go to. Never really get results there, sort of on our last 4 or 5 visits or so. So, that was a difficult afternoon, not one that lives particularly long in the memory, I don't think.
Yeah, just picking you up on that, obviously Lincoln and Forest Green came up together out of the conference in 16-17. Took us a little bit less time to get up to League One, whereas your chairman was quite vocal about getting to League One pretty quickly. What do you make of all this rivalry between the two? I think it's probably more of a Cowley versus Cooper thing, isn't it? Like we sort of said while we were on off air.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think, there were good games, weren't there, in the National League, and even going into League Two. I mean, the 3-2 in the National League completely just changed the momentum of the title race. And I don't know, but I just wonder if Forest Green had held on for 2-0 that day, would they have just gone on and won the league? 12 points clear. Lincoln obviously had so much quality that season, and so much grit as well to get results like that. But 12 points would have been a hell of a gap. It just felt like a sort of momentum shifter in terms of the season. You went on a hell of a run. Forest Green sort of slumped over the line in the playoffs. I mean, and again in League Two, I remember the 2-1 in the 18-19 season. Obviously, the season you went on and won the league, Forest Green finishing the playoffs. It was a great game at Sincil Bank. Rovers played really well that day. Reece Brown at the heart of it. And then the game at the New Lawn as well. Forest Green ran Lincoln close, but could just never get the better of a Danny Cowley side. And yeah, I think you're completely right. It was a rivalry, which obviously all sort of kick-started because of that 3-2 game at the New Lawn in 2016. But Cowley and Cooper, just added a bit of spice to it, and probably more from Lincoln fans towards Mark Cooper, to be fair. But yeah, I think if you ask Forest Green fans, would they rather beat Lincoln or Danny Cowley's Portsmouth this season? They'd probably say Danny Cowley's Portsmouth. But yeah, I think there were some really good games, weren't there, over the years between the two clubs. But I do think that spice has probably gone now. The clubs have gone in completely different directions in terms of bringing in young progressive head coaches instead of Cowley and Cooper, who sort of had a bit of a rivalry between them.
And let's just touch on Lincoln's new era, then, like you say, under Mark Kennedy. Being a reporter, you would have seen the recruitment that we've made. Have you been impressed by some of the names you've seen come into the football club, like Carl Rushworth, who you would have seen last year at Walsall, Polly O'Connor and Charles Vernon as well, you would have seen at Bradford. Were you impressed with the names that we've signed?
Yeah, I think in terms of Rushworth, definitely. I think, every League One club that needed a goalkeeper this season, I think the names that have gone around have sort of been Carl Rushworth and Nathan Bishop, who was obviously at Mansfield last season. They were sort of the two best young goalkeepers in the league. So yeah, a really good pickup. I think that from Lincoln. Rushworth, really impressed. Kept Walsall in games last season, and then obviously O'Connor, a solid centre back at Bradford, and Vernon, I think, has just got a little bit of X factor, hasn't he? In terms of he can sort of turn it on when he wants to. Not sure he's shown it too consistently. But in terms of Mark Kennedy as well, I think it's a really interesting appointment and kind of a name that when Forest Green were looking for a manager after Mark Cooper, before they appointed Rob Edwards, I was sort of looking at Kennedy thinking, could that maybe be an option, a young coach? I went to a Wolves under 23s game in 2020, and whilst Mark Kennedy was manager, and went to his sort of post-match presser, and I thought he spoke really well about the game. Seemed like a genuinely sort of nice chap, and seems to have a good reputation as well, based on getting the Lincoln job. I don't think he can be judged on what happened at Macclesfield, because it's just there's incredibly extreme and difficult circumstances. So interesting to see Lincoln sort of go in that way, and watch on with interest as to how it could go. I know some people have predicted Lincoln to go down. I don't see that personally, but yeah, it does sort of feel like it could go pretty well, or maybe it could go quite badly.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, moving on to Saturday then, Laurie, what are you thinking in terms of a score prediction? It's the dreaded score prediction. What are you going to go with?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think Forest Green looking to sort of play out from the back under Birchdale, to take risks on the ball, brave, and from, I've only watched the highlights, but based on sort of what's been said, I think you lot are looking to press high under Kennedy, getting other teams' faces. So that could be a sort of interesting clash in terms of, will Forest Green sort of just play through the press, or will they sort of be eaten alive by it, I guess. I think I'll go for a 1-1 draw. I think two fairly evenly matched teams, really, based on where they are in terms of being under a new manager, and probably quality of squads not too far apart either. So yeah, I'd go for a 1-1 draw, I think.
Brilliant. Another draw. That'd be 3 in a row for us. So thanks for coming on, Laurie. Massively appreciated. Do you want to plug any work that you've got going on at the moment, where you're writing, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, just follow the Twitter account, which is at Laurie Martin 263 for any sort of work based stuff, I guess.
Top man, thank you for coming on, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Right. A massive thank you to Laurie for coming on the preview show. His Twitter description is in the link down below. And that is everything for another episode of the Stacey West preview show. We are back early next week for a preview against Oxford United. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled on that. There will also be a West End Imps review show for the game against Forest Green on Sunday lunchtime. So thank you everybody for watching. Make sure that you like, comment and subscribe. And we will see you early next week for another preview. Thank you for watching.